another episode of the Theater Professor's Vidcast. My name is Terry Danajikimiak II, and I am the Theater Professor. I want to say welcome to all of the new viewers who may just be coming in on this video, and I want to say thank you to all you returning viewers who continue to stop by and watch what I'm creating here at the Theater Professor. Now this week we are going to continue with the tools of Artrage for the iPad. But before I go any further, take a look at the screen and you see the Theater Professor website. So if you're watching this on YouTube, stop by the website, the Theater Professor. You can check out, you're just looking here, like today I put up a blog, I've got podcasts, I've got video tutorials, I've got more pretty pictures, all sorts of things. So stop by, check us out, sign up for the newsletter updates, which are over here. And if you're feeling really, really nice, toss me $1 or $2 here on Patreon, because any money that you toss me goes back into the Theater Professor and continues to grow. All right. So let's continue on for the reason you're actually here. Let's get to work in Artrage for the iPad. So last week we messed with the charcoal stick, the crayon, and the felt pen. This week we're going to move into the inking pen, the pencil. We're going to skip over the tube of paint for now, and we're going to move on to the paint roller. Rolling, 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 rolling. Thank you. I'll be here at least for the next 15 minutes. Okay, so let's look at the inking pen. You can see that I have that selected currently, and we're going to go through the same process we did with the other tools from last week. First, we will click on our little gears down here. And you'll see for the inking pen, there is a whole host of things we can look at. Size, the blending mode, the taper length, the aspect, rotation, opacity, smoothing, whether or not we're using a square head, and the anti-alias edge. So let's do just like last week. I'm going to turn everything to 0 and everything off. And let's see what that looks like. And right now the size is 2, but size is less important to us. And apparently, nothing happens. Look at that. Absolutely nothing. So let's bring up some settings here. So I'm going to click it. Click our icon, our gears again. Let's turn our taper length up all the way and just see what happens. Still nothing. Let's turn up, our opacity. That's probably what we need. There we go. Okay. So that is with opacity at full, and we'll leave opacity at full, and taper length at 100. Take taper length down to 0. We don't really see a difference yet. Let me increase the size. There we go. Now we start to see something. Let's take that taper length back up to full. Ah, yes. Okay. You notice when I stopped moving, it put in the taper length. So straight, oops, let's do an up and down line. See? Where if I turn taper length off, this is what we get. And it stays. Okay? So that's our taper length. Let's look at aspect next. We'll take aspect up to 100. So now instead of a flat edge, we've got rounded edges. Interesting. And you can see what it's actually doing is fattening the line. Because if I go sideways now or up and down, they're both fat, right? But if I take aspect all the way down, and when I go sideways, we get a thin line, and up and down, we get our fat line. Okay? So that's what aspect's doing. Let's clear this. Oops, wrong button. Okay, let's see what's next. Next, we're messing with rotation, which we probably won't see a lot right now. Let me take rotation down. Yeah, it's okay. So it's not very visible right now. We'll have to look at that as we go. Smoothing makes sense. We should be able to figure out smoothing, right? So if I do this, smooths it out. See that? Okay. Square head, we'll turn that on. No real difference. Let's turn anti-alias edge on. Ooh, look how smooth the edges are. I like that. That's nice. So let's see what some of the settings, the presets are. Under our folder, billboard is first. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay. Not bad. Not bad, not bad. A fairly smooth stroke. I don't know why it's called billboard, but I'm going to skip the harsh multiply for right now and go into anti-alias, or no anti-aliasing, which essentially is the anti-alias turned off. And you can see, zoom in, we can see all the pixelation there, right? If it's anti-aliased, we don't get that pixelation. But this does not have it on. Round and smooth. Oh, look at that. Smooths it right out. So if I did my name, that's what an E looks like. Yeah, probably not a setting I would use often. Unless I'm doing things like big curves. Look at that. That's actually kind of nice. I could do something with that. I don't know what yet, but I could definitely do something. Maybe, you know. So I'm trying to do a box and it turns it into a U. Ridiculous. Let's look at, I'm going to skip smooth transparent. We'll come back to those. Smooth inking. Yeah, so you've got to be careful with the smoothing because it does take a lot out of your piece. Technical pen, which is probably one of my favorites. Especially in what I do in regards to designing things. See? What do we got? Thick and thin. Now, obviously, you can tell I'm doing all of these in just black. You can, just like anything else, use different colors. Whenever I look at inking, I automatically think black. Thick liner. Oh, wow, that's another smoothing one. Turns my square to a circle. And then a writing chisel. That's not bad. Now, some people might use the inking pen to ink things, obviously. Comics, things like that. But there are some painting aspects too. So let's go back up to harsh multiply and let's see what that does. So if I lay down one stroke, actually, let me increase the size. See? Okay, so multiply is actually what I use as far as a setting goes when I'm trying to create the feel of watercolor in Artrage for the desktop. So what it does is essentially, it's like watercolor in that it's like you lay down a color, it dries, but there's a translucency to it, so that when you stack things up, the hue, or I'm sorry, not the hue, the intensity of the color grows. So if we look at these outer edges, you know, it's like a light pink, but then we look at the middle and it's turned into this dark red. And if I just keep going over top of it, it just keeps getting darker and darker. Okay. And I believe that the smooth transparent is very similar. Okay, so you can see there, woo! That's what I get for tilting my iPad. You can see, and I'll increase the size here. The smooth transparent is the same thing, only as we build here, the difference being, because I'm using the same color, right? I haven't changed colors. So if we were to look at the setting, what we're seeing, I believe, is the opacity difference. Let's look. Yep, this opacity is 100%. In the harsh multiply, but the opacity in the other one is only 35%. So that is where you're getting some of the difference. Also, the blending mode here. So you can switch multiply, color burn, linear, you can all of these. So that is something you can actually do within the layers. So if you look here at this layer, oops, wrong button. Wrong button. There it is, blend. I can change the blend mode of it, but this is specific to the marker. So you can almost create Copic. Somebody will correct me. It's either Copic or Copic. C-O-P-I-C pens using these tools, because you can create a multiply, or as this one is a translucent, smooth, transparent, and it'll actually mix, if I'm correct. Oops, let me clear first. But if I'm correct, it should mix colors when I do this. See, that center starts to turn purple. And if we get the yellow here, we can start to create orange. Look at that. Okay. So you can actually color mix this way, which is a lot of fun. Now, one of the things I haven't tried is I haven't tried using it to actually do coloring of anything, whether it's comics or art, because I tend to do most of my coloring in watercolor or oil paint or something like that. So maybe I'll play with this later on. What is this? Oh, yeah, made that disappear. All right, let's clear this. And again, that was the inking pen. Let's look at the pencil. Not a lot of settings. Good. We reduced the number of settings here. We have size, we have pressure, we have softness, and tilt angle. So it's like if you don't have V8 in the morning, how much are you tilting? So let's start, well, zero pressure would be pointless. So I'm not going to start with zero pressure. Under pressure. So this is 100% pressure, everything else at zero, except for size. Let's take our softness up to 100. Okay. Take our softness back down. Take our tilt angle up to 100. So it's as if you're shading with the side of your pencil. Let's keep tilt angle up. Take softness up. And then finally, what we have is precise, which does fairly similar to the smoothing that we saw on the inking pen. See? Oop, there we go. Okay. So if we turn precise off, it goes back to tilt angle. You turn precise on, it switches over to smoothing. All right. So those are the settings for pencil. And, you know, pencil's not real complicated. When I tend to use it, I tend to just use it for, like as if it was a regular graphite pencil. But you could, if you wanted to, use color pencil. So if we could grab some red here. Oh, I forgot to go through these, but I'm just going to grab one real quick. I'm going to undo that and make my pencil bigger. Okay. And maybe grab another color. Now notice it doesn't blend right here. So to blend this, you actually have to grab your palette knife. And we'll start with just instant blur and just see what happens. It doesn't blend very well. That's what happens. Because I'm failing miserably. Let's try heavy blurred frosting. Whoa. A little too heavy. Little too heavy. Let's bring that down a little bit. That starts to blend a little bit. Not great, but so that's color pencil. Like if you were trying to use the pencil as a color pencil. Let's look at some of the settings though. Let's go back to our dark gray and our presets. Not for that, for the pencil. For the pencil. All right, so some really, basic things here. You've got auto smooth me. So if I do this, it smooths it out. Okay. Which I guess if you have a shaky hand, that's good, right? Of course, if your shaky hand is really shaky, there's not much it can do. Hard and dark. Yep. Looks hard and dark. There's a very deep name there. Hard shader. Now, this is nice. It's like you're shading in a little bit here, right? Now, again, this doesn't have a blender like a finger. So you'd grab your palette knife, maybe blend it in if you really wanted that, like that look. Okay. Let's go back to pencil. Hard tip. So what should happen is that it should stop every 5 seconds because I break tips real easily. It doesn't. Hard tip really looks a lot like hard and dark. Heavy and smooth. There it is. Curving our angles. Skip my pencil because that's one that I created. Soft tip. Well, that's kind of nice. So if you're sketching, we do a guy, maybe an eye. My eye looks really creepy right now. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Oh, I don't even know what that. And then we have thin, precise liner, which, darn it, there we go, is thin and precise. I mean, again, it's a pencil. I mean, it only has so many uses. It's not like it's watercolor oil paint where you'll be able to do 8 billion things with it. It's a pencil. Grab your pencil, use your pencil. And then the third one that I want to talk about today is the roller. Let's clear this puppy out. And what do we got? Okay, so we've got size. Everything's got size. I've got size. I mean, I'm big, I'm small, etc., etc. You have the pressure, how hard you're pushing the roller down. Thinners in regards to thinning the paint. And loading is kind of think of loading as if it was running out of paint as you went. So let's turn everything off. Let's do loading low, like at 4%. Here's 4% loading. See? It just runs out of paint. And if you put loading at 100%, it'll never run out. Like I could do this forever. It's never gonna run out. So let's leave it like at 50%. Now, that was all pressure at 0. This is pressure at 100. So if you're pressing really hard on it. Okay. Got to keep clearing because it takes up so much space. And then this is thinner at 100. So you're probably looking at this right now and you're going, why would I ever use the paint roller? Well, I will tell you right now that I like to use it if, for example, I'm doing a watercolor piece and there's an area that I want to put a new item. Rather than erase the watercolor that's already down, I'll use the roller to paint a section and cover up what's underneath so that I can essentially begin anew as if I was on fresh paper. I did that with the Addams Family design. So essentially I have a base set with several pieces, and then I put pieces in front of that base set based on the scene. So every time I had to do that, I would draw out the piece, the new piece. So for example, in one scene, I needed gravestones. I drew out the gravestones, and then using the roller, I painted the interior of the gravestones white, which then I did a new layer on top of that, which treated that as if it was white paper underneath and created essentially another painting on top of it. So I'll do that in another tutorial, kind of show you how I do that. It's really quite interesting. All right. So let's look at some of the presets we got here. We've got a dry roller, which we can probably guess what's going to happen. Yeah. I don't get very far with it. Okay. Speckled line, which looks like a speckled line. Thick and smooth, which is that's what I tend to use to cover things up. You know, do something like this. And then finally we have unclean roller. I'm going to change to a color. Then another color, and it actually does begin to blend things together. I really should pick lighter colors when I'm blending. So let's do this color and this color. See, you can see it starts, because it's unclean, it picks up both, and I start to create a new color. So that's the roller. So today we went over the inking pen, the pencil, and the roller. So let me just give you an example here. Like I was talking about the roller and how I use it. Let me clear this layer. So let's say I did a painting, and I'm just going to put down a block of paint. I did a painting, I'll turn that up, in this area that was blue. And I decided, I wanted to do a circle right on top of this. So what I would do is I would do a new layer. And in my new layer, I'd grab my pencil, which we learned about today, and I'd draw my circle. Looks like a circle. Then I would grab my roller, and either on that pencil layer or on a new layer, I would switch to white. I would also reduce my size, which is entirely too big right now. And I would start to paint the inside of that circle. Okay. Until I felt happy with what I had created. I would then add a new layer on top of that. And I would begin coloring, say with my inking pen. Using, let's say, blue. Nope, I've already got blue. Let's go red. Too big. Too big. Everything's too big. There we go. But you see, being on top of white again, I'm not mixing with what's in the background, which is a nice, which is exactly what I want to do. I don't want to mix. Turn that up. In the background, I'm creating a new look. It's so funny that it goes that small like that. Okay, so that's what I use the roller for. It essentially creates a new paper space for me, so I don't have to try and erase something underneath. Next week, we're going to finish up the tools. It'll be our last week of tools. I know some of you have been playing with this iPad set forever now, and you know how to use all the tools. But for those that are brand new, maybe just starting, I want to finish it up. We'll go through the oil paint, the three tools of oil paint, really, which is the brush, the palette knife, and the tube. We'll look at watercolor, and we'll finish up with airbrush. Airbrush. Yeah, there's a little bit of airbrush. And then we will be done with the tools. And from then on, what I'm going to be doing with this tutorial series is showing you some tricks and tips that I use in regards to my renderings. What some of the things that I find work really well or don't work at all. So if you have enjoyed this tutorial, make sure that you stop by thetheaterprofessor.com and maybe leave me a comment or a critique. Tell me how either wonderful or atrocious I'm doing so that I can work on this. You know, I'm trying to make this good for you guys. I want to make you guys happy. And if it means jumping into a TARDIS with the Doctor, going back in time, and redoing this tutorial, then I'll do it. First step will be to find the Doctor. Second step will be to not be one of the characters in a Doctor television show that just dies, because there's a couple of those. Now, obviously, I'm not companion material. I'm not adorable. I'm kind of gruff and rough, but hey, I could be a Rory. Maybe. So, leave me a note. Leave me a message. Let me know what you think. Let me know. Oh, this is kind of turning into a flower. I like this. See, you know, don't you like it when art just happens sometimes? I'm sitting here. I just have the airbrush on, bumping through colors, kind of trying to see what it does. And I've created almost like a little flower. A little bit of blending. And I never use the airbrush, so I really honestly have no idea what I'm doing. But, you know, at this point, if we grab let's grab that pen right there. Grab a green that's kind of dark. There we go. I've created... Ooh, that does crazy things. I've created a flower. A sideways flower that fell over. Ladies and gentlemen, art. All right. This is the Theater Professor. I am Terry Dana Jakimiak II. I am your weekly host for these tutorials. And I look forward to bringing you our final toolset tutorial next week and moving into some fun artsy things the following weeks. Remember, even if you don't have an iPad, you can still get art supplies and join along with us because, well, heck, whether it's digital or a natural medium, it's still fun to do art, right? Okay, that's it for this week. Signing off.